Another source of law is executive orders. What are they? Where do they come from? Well, they come from the top elected government officials, the governor, the president, the mayor. They can all issue an executive order. We've heard a lot about executive orders, especially during COVID time. Governor Cuomo was issuing executive orders often. Presidents generally do it often as well. President Obama holds the record for the most executive orders issued. The rules and the powers governing the issuing of executive orders is detailed in the constitutions. So the president's powers and the rules governing executive orders are stated in the U.S. Constitution. For the governors, it's their respective states' constitution. So the whole idea, the goal of executive orders is to change the practice or manner in which agencies or officials operate so as to improve the practices of that government entity. Can these executive orders ever be challenged? Sure they can. This is just the executive branch of our government issuing laws or rules. In statutory law, we saw the legislators issuing laws and rules. So our country is set up with checks and balances. So our checker is the judicial branch, and they have to make sure that these orders and the laws hold up to the Constitution. So yes, executive orders can be challenged, and they're challenged in court. The next source of law is the administrative laws. And the questions that we ask is, what are they? Where do they come from? Well, generally, when a governing body like Congress or state legislators recognize that there's a specific need to govern a specific industry or to protect people, what they do is they say, hey, let's create a government body. And then that government body or government agency will develop the rules and regulations that corporations and individuals have to follow. For instance, the Environmental Protection Agency Act is the body of law. It's enforced by the Environmental Protection Agency. The agency was created by Congress, and the agency created the act. We also have the Securities Exchange Act. That's the body of law. And we have the Securities Exchange Commission that enforces it. Another example, the Federal Trade Commissions Act, outlawing unfair competition and trade practices. So the state level has theirs too. We might have in a particular state the Department of Environmental Protection, the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor focuses on employment laws within the state, and the Department of Environmental Protection is protecting the environment of that particular state. So these agencies do create regulations, they create the penalties, and they actually have their own judicial system within it. So what do these government agencies do? Types of laws that they deal with, as we know, can be quite technical and complicated matters. So they require a certain degree of expertise. That's why they're created to begin with. I think of securities and the environment. If government left that to local police departments to enforce, would it really get enforced? Would it be adequately enforced? So that's really the whole purpose behind this. The members of the actual agency itself are appointed by the government officials. So, Congress or the president are appointing members into a federal agency, governors, state legislators appointing or saying who is in charge of the state governmental agencies. Within the agencies, there is a judge, a particular proceeding that takes place. If a corporation or an individual violates one of the agency's rules or laws, they go before a administrative law judge or a hearing examiner. Any decisions made by that individual based on violations can be appealed to the next level up, to a appeals board in the agency. Ultimately, courts can review decisions, but in very limited circumstances, and that will be explained in the judicial system process, which is another video that'll go into more detail regarding how cases move through the administrative agencies. And lastly, international law. And this will be really quick discussion on international law. Generally, it's governed by treaties. We also call them conventions. These are our equity discussion. Next up, statutory. And don't you guys love my disclaimers at the end? You guys aren't the only ones who are watching this. Other people watch it too. So this is for educational purposes, not to be